Hey guys, this is for those of you who didn't show up to class today. What we did was we talked about kindness. We went back to our LearnKind activities that we started before we went out last year. So I'm going to start over, and I'm just going to spend this time reviewing the first module, the first set of this activity, and you'll see it's posted as a PowerPoint assignment, which means there are text boxes for you to fill in. So what I'm going to do is go through the PowerPoint, and then there's another little presentation embedded into the PowerPoint. I'll go through that. That's also listed separately on this Schoology page, so you can use that to reference when you're filling out the first PowerPoint you have to do. So again, we go into my Schoology page, right? We scroll down to this week, right? This is last week, so I'll keep this here because the vocab is in there, information, and that's due next week. All right, so we're going to go into this week's folder. And you'll see there's 3 things in here. There's 2 assignments. This is LearnKind Module 1. That's the one we're going to talk about today. LearnKind Module 2 is something I want you to start on your own. Do review the first few slides of it on your own, and then we'll talk about that. We'll return to that on Tuesday. And then this is the little mini presentation that's also embedded in this one. So, but I put it here separately so you have easy access to it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go into this PowerPoint assignment. And again, this is an assignment. So when it pops up for you, it's going to have the link. And then over here, it's going to say edit and submit, right? So you want to hit when you're doing yours, you want to hit that edit word. And then it shows me who's in progress and who's submitted it, right? That's how I know that you finished it. And I have it set up for periods 7 and 8. So I'm going to go into the PowerPoint, and this is what you will see when you log on. Okay, so the first slide is just a title slide. So, and you see that there's another slide. This has the link. So there's only actually 3 slides to this actual PowerPoint with activities. All right, so the first slide talks about kindness, the science of kindness. This is, again, we started this last year, so we're just going to continue talking about kindness. And as you know, kindness is very important to me. I feel like it's something that we are lacking maybe in our society a little bit, and in the way that we deal with each other and we talk to each other. And I think it's really important that we try and get to a point where we start treating each other a little bit nicer than we do. So that's kind of my focus. My end game is to think about how we talk to each other and how we treat each other, the things that we do for each other or to each other. And essentially what happens is you're going to learn, and we're going to talk about the emotional impact that kindness can have on somebody. So like that's the feelings, how it can affect somebody's feelings, and how it can affect the feelings of the person you're being kind to, right? Or unkind to, how they feel, how it makes them feel. But we're also going to talk about how it makes you feel when you are kind, or conversely, opposite, unkind to someone, right? I think there have been many times when you've walked away from a situation and known you weren't exactly as kind as you could have been and maybe wanted to be, and it does kind of leave you with a little bit of an unhappy feeling. All right, so you've heard obviously the word kindness. So the first, and we did this last year, so all I'm going to do is ask you to click on this text box and type your answer to the question here. The first question is, what is the first word or phrase that comes to mind when you hear the word kindness? So think about kindness. Just close your eyes and give it a thought. What pops into your head? What idea? What concept? What word? What activity? Okay, something that comes to your mind when you think about kindness. The next one is, how do you feel when you hear someone say you should be kind? Now this is kind of a twofold question. So I think about it when if I'm in a room and somebody's talking to people in general and the conversation is about kindness and somebody just says, well, yeah, you should be kind, right? I get a very different reaction to that than I will if somebody looks me in the eye and says, you should be kind, points their finger at me and says, you should be kind. Right? When I'm sitting in a conversation and we're talking about it, of course, it gives me a feeling of, you know, yes, we should all be kind, right? A kind of confirmation that thought that I have in my head about being kind is the same thought that these other people are having. But if somebody looks at me and says, you should be kind, I'm going to be honest, and I get a little bit defensive, right? I get a little defensive, and I think to myself, was I not kind to someone? Could I have been kinder to someone? So I gave the example in one of the classes that sometimes my daughter will say this to me, Mom, you should be kind. And when she says that, it makes me stop and think, because I know sometimes I joke around and I say things that aren't kind in a joking way. And I think you guys all probably, maybe last year at the beginning of the year, looked at me and like looked at each other and say, like, did she just say that? Like, what is she saying? But now I hope after all this time you've known me that you know that I would never say anything unkind intentionally to be mean. When I say things that might not be kind, I'm kidding. And I really am kidding. And I have had kids in the past say, Mrs. Martelli, that was a little bit, you know, you kind of crossed the line there. And that hurt my feelings. And when that happens, I feel awful. And I have actually cried in front of students after doing that. And they say that to me and apologized and spent quite a bit of time trying to make up to them the fact that I didn't mean to hurt them, right? You guys, that's something I want you to know. I would never, ever, ever say anything to you that I think would hurt you or that would, you know, to intentionally hurt you. But I'm human. I make mistakes, right? So we just kind of be honest. But when somebody says to me, you should be kind, when my daughter says that to me, I think about the situation, and maybe sometimes I did make a joke and that she looks at the person I joked with and they didn't realize I was joking and they look hurt. And other times I just think maybe it didn't come off the right way. Maybe I said something and I wasn't being kind and I didn't realize it, right? So we all have times when we make mistakes, and you guys know I make more than my share of mistakes. I say it all the time, but I also do, when I make a mistake, I admit it and I ask for forgiveness, and I hopefully use it as a learning experience for myself. Speaking of mistakes, so the next slide here, so back to this one just quickly. So all you're going to do is type 2 answers in those 2 boxes, 1 answer in each. This is a mistake that I made. First, I didn't have the link in here, and so then I added the link, and you see if I hit Control, I get that little finger, but it takes me to to the wrong link. So I may not fix this. I'm going to try and fix it. But in case I don't fix it, don't use this link. Use the link that's in my Schoology. Oops. In my Schoology folder, use this link. This link is what's supposed to be linked here, okay? It's not right now. I'm going to try and fix it. All right, so the next slide then is basically what we use to address the link from that that's supposedly what's in that slide. Oops. Ugh, I'm having a hard time here. So I'm going to click on this link now and talk about this. It's a mini presentation inside of a presentation. So much fun. Okay, so this is a PDF about the science of kindness. And we talked about this last year, how kindness is can be studied scientifically. So this is some of the results of what science has discovered. So the first thing that we come to is, what is kindness? The definition that we are going to be working with for kindness over this this project is, we're going to think about kindness as an action, right? And that's an A. We're going to think about it's intended to benefit. That's a B. And there is an emotional component. That's a C, the component. All right. I like it when I'm trying to learn something new or remember something, if I have some kind of a mnemonic device, which is some kind of a clue that helps me to remember things. And I always try to give you guys clues when I teach you something new to help you remember in the future after you're out of school or away from me. So this ABC thing can help me remember about kindness. Kindness always involves some kind of an action. An action is always something physical, which means I can't really be showing kindness if I'm just thinking about nice things about people. That isn't showing kindness. Thinking about something isn't showing kindness. Showing kindness doesn't happen until I actually physically show it in some way. I can hold a door open for somebody. That's a physical act. But I can also compliment somebody, right? Complimenting, opening my mouth and speaking, that's a physical act. Okay, so those are different ways that we can express kindness, because it's always got to be some kind of an action. And that action is intended to benefit someone, to make their life better, to help someone. Right? So my action when I open a door and I hold it open for someone, I'm doing that to help them so that they don't have to open the door. They might be running late. There might be something going on that I can't see, some reason that was harder for them to open the door, right? I just got there. It's just common courtesy. I got there first. I'm going to hold the door open for that person. It's going to benefit them somehow, as opposed to pulling the door shut just before they get into the room, right? That does not benefit anybody. Okay, so holding a door open, benefiting. Then that action that is intended to benefit will typically be accompanied by some kind of an emotional component, which means I have some kind of an emotional reason, or some kind of an emotional consequence or result of that action that benefits somebody, right? So when I hold the door open for somebody, I get a feeling inside of me that's a nice feeling because I was nice to someone. When someone holds a door open for me, I get a nice feeling because I appreciate the fact that someone did something nice for me. The emotional component, the feeling that is accompanied, that goes with that action that's intended to benefit. Action, benefit, emotional component. All right, now we're just going to briefly talk about what is kindness. Kindness can come in many shapes and sizes. Love is kindness, right? Bravery. Empathy. Empathy is something that is a little bit hard to understand sometimes, because we think of empathy and sympathy as the same thing, but they're really not. Empathy means that I have pretty much experienced something that you're experiencing, and so I can put myself in your shoes and I can really kind of understand what you're going through. Sympathy means I don't understand it exactly, but I know that it's real to you and that you're feeling bad. So I'm going to walk beside you and try and help you if I can. And understanding actually is kind of a combination of the two of these, right? You show understanding when you're showing sympathy, and you're showing understanding when you're showing empathy. Okay. So with empathy, for example, so you guys know that I recently lost a cousin. So if you have lost somebody close to you, kind of in your same age group that you grew up with for a really long time, who wasn't sick and you didn't expect to pass away, and they passed away, then you can empathize. You can show empathy because you understand how that made me feel. If you haven't experienced that, then you can still show sympathy, which means that you know that I'm sad. You just don't know exactly how sad, or exactly what kind of impact my sadness, my sorrow is having on me. That's the difference between empathy and sympathy. Okay. And in understanding in both, you're showing me that you understand how I feel, or you're showing me that you understand that I feel something. Okay. Fairness is also a kind of kindness, compassion, forgiveness, friendship, generosity, gratitude, when you're grateful for someone, respect, showing respect for people, and tolerance. This one is huge for me, tolerance. Tolerance is really important in so many ways and for so many reasons. And I don't just mean tolerance of someone's skin color or their race or their religion or their political beliefs. Okay, I'm not talking about tolerance for someone whose beliefs are different from ours or maybe who looks different from us. I'm talking about tolerance for people who we, for whatever reason, for no reason, don't feel any real connection to. There are going to be people in your life, your whole life, who you meet, who you just don't feel a connection to. You just don't really love these people for some reason. There's nothing necessarily that they've done wrong. You just don't like them. And again, I'm always honest, and that's a real feeling sometimes. Okay, so when you have that feeling for someone, you can either ignore them, you can be mean to them, or you can show them tolerance and you can still be kind to them and be nice to them. And of course, you know where I'm going is into this kindness mode, right? So even when you meet somebody or when you're in a class with somebody or you're working on a project with somebody or somebody lives in your neighborhood who you don't quite feel connected to, it still pays to be kind to them. Be tolerant, show tolerance. Okay? Kindness can look like giving. It can look like helping, sharing, including, this is a big one because this goes with the tolerance, right? Sometimes there's always those people that you have around you that are outliers. They just kind of hang out in the background and they don't really get involved. Maybe they don't know how to get involved. They don't know how to ask if they can join you in whatever activity you're doing. If you're playing a game, if you're doing something, hanging out in your neighborhood, or even in school when you're paired up, or you say your teacher says, okay, guys, get into groups of 3 or 4, and there's sometimes always that person who's kind of left on the outside, who doesn't really have a group, right? Include that person. It's not going to cost you anything. It's not going to hurt you. It's show some tolerance for people who are different from you, just in the fact that their personality might be different, right? By including them. You can show tolerance by volunteering and also by caring. This next one talks about kindness being ancient. That means kindness has been around for a long time. And the studies show that there are components, aspects of kindness that have really helped to propel humanity, to keep us human and to keep us in existence as the human race and our survival, right? Humans evolved to be kind, not just to family, but to friends, community members, and even strangers. And this evolved doesn't mean any kind of evolution as opposed to creation evolved. What this means is that in our minds, as we've lived through the years, right? Each generation brings to light a more advanced idea of a thought that maybe had happened in the previous generation. So what's happened is that as the years have gone by, scientists have realized that kindness is really important, that to keep us human, to kind of keep us different and separated from the animals, maybe. So you're kind to your friends and your family, of course, but being kind to community members, people who live around you. Community members for you guys are the people in school even, right? Being kind to those people and being kind to strangers, right? All those things are things that separate us from the animals and give us our humanity and help to keep our humanity going forward. Kindness can also kickstart cooperative relationships. Cooperative relationships are the supportive social networks that have been crucial to our society survival. Social networks, guys, have been around long before computers were. Social networks are those people that you stay connected with in some way, right? Before computers, it was mainly the people that lived in your neighborhood. You would go out, your friends would all go out, you'd get together, you'd hang out, and you'd spend the afternoons playing outside probably together. Or you'd go over one of your friends' house and everybody would pile in. And those were your social networks. It's the people who are in your friend circle. And sometimes they're not even friends. So I know when I was growing up, I always called this boy lived next door to me. I always called him my summer friend because we spent all summer together. But as soon as school started, he had his group of friends at school and I had my group of friends at school. And we hardly even spoke to each other in school. And then summer would come again and we would be hanging out together and doing things together. And that was just our friendship for our whole time that we were in school. And that's a reality that happens. But it's important to survival to have some kind of connections to people. Kindness is also a part of human nature, right? Nice guys finish first. The reality, that's a reality in that, I'm sorry, that was my phone. That's a reality in that people who are kind to each other are more likely to be respected by their peers and are more likely to be chosen as leaders than those people who are selfish or who are unkind. Kindness is beautiful. People who are generous are often considered more attractive than those who are not. And kindness is courageous. A study showed that a child standing up for another child being bullied was considered one of the most heroic things you can do. Because it's difficult. It's difficult to stand up in a crowd of people and protect someone who's being bullied, right? It's very courageous. Kindness is also contagious. All right, there's a national movement called Pay It Forward, and it shows how quickly kind acts can spread. So the gist of this, the idea of this is that if I do something kind for you, and instead of you, when you thank me, right, my response is pay it forward, which means, okay, I was kind to you, now you go on and be kind to someone else. And then tell them to be kind to someone else and tell them to be kind to someone else. And eventually maybe we'll all start to be more kind to each other. Witnessing another person perform a good deed increases a desire in yourself to be kind and to help others. Okay. And this one says people who spent time helping others felt they had more time themselves. That one I don't understand. So I might have to do a little more research on that one. We're going to skip that one. Kindness makes you happy. 27 experiments were reviewed and found that the people who helped others were happier than the people who helped themselves or did nothing. Okay? Spending money on others makes you happier than spending money on yourself. And this I consider also like maybe giving donations and even spending time volunteering and working with other people. All right. Kindness improves the well-being of both the giver and the receiver. So you feel better about giving something and you feel better when somebody gives you something or is kind to you. And expressing gratitude, just simple saying thanks, improves the well-being of both, again, the giver and the recipient. When you say thank you to someone, it kind of causes an emotional response that you realize that you're grateful for something somebody did for you, that somebody did something nice for you. And when you hear somebody say thank you, then you realize they appreciated what you did, and that makes you feel good too. Kindness is good for your mental health. Spending money on others reduces blood pressure, similar to taking blood pressure medication or exercising. And again, I don't just consider this spending money, but I think about in the money, because we don't have a lot of money. Like, I don't have a lot of money to spend on other people, but I do enjoy it when I can buy things for other people. But I think about it, if I'm saving money to buy something, say you're saving money to buy a new pair of sneakers or a game, or maybe you collect something, you have something that you collect and you want to buy another piece for your collection, right? When you save up that money, if you stop and you look around and you think about, I really like this, what I'm buying is really nice and I would love it, but it's not something that's a necessity. It's not something I need to survive. So maybe this time I can take half of my money and I can give it to a needy family in my neighborhood, or I can give it to a charity that helps needy people, right? Because there are always a lot of people in the world who are worse off than we are. So sometimes taking our money and sharing it with those people that we know are needy that can really use it, it really does help. It helps you emotionally and physically. Okay. Forgiving others for past wrongs increases positive feelings. Again, people will hurt you. People will let you down. It's a part of life because we're human, right? You have a couple options. You have an option that you can hold that in and you can actually let it eat away at you and make you miserable, right? Or you can let it go. You can forgive the person even if they don't ask for forgiveness. When you let it go, right, you decrease stress and anxiety and depression that you might feel about being mistreated by someone. Kindness can reduce the negative effects of stress. So a 14-day study found that people engaging in helpful behaviors felt less stressed at the end of the 14 days than they did when the study began. So spending time helping other people actually reduces your stress levels too. And kindness reduces social anxiety in the giver. Social anxiety being maybe you're the person who's a little bit afraid sometimes to join a group. You're afraid to get involved in something. You're afraid to approach somebody new. And that happens. And honestly, I know you probably won't believe it about me now, but when I was your age, I would shrink away in a corner and try to pretend I wasn't there. I was not that person who was going to be outgoing and go up to people and introduce myself. But maybe the idea of being kind to someone can help you with that, because there's going to be less chance that they will make fun of you, or less chance that they will reject your friendship or your even your introduction if you're kind, if you're showing them some kindness. Okay? So it reduces some social anxiety in some situations. All right, so that's the presentation, and that's what you're going to use to answer the next part of the PowerPoint. So we go back to the PowerPoint and you'll see here's the definition, right? This is the ABC's definition. You're going to type your answer in this text box. You're going to give that definition. Okay. And here you see there's 8 boxes here where you're going to put some facts. You're going to fill out all 8 of these boxes. You're going to find 8 facts from that presentation that we just went through, right? 8 facts from that, and you're going to put them in these boxes. And then over here, there's 8 boxes, but you don't need all 8. I just want you to find 4. Find 4 questions in your head. Think of 4 questions that you might ask for more, if you want more information, or about how something might work, okay, or what something might look like from the facts that we talk about. Okay, and that's all you're doing. The next slide is where we type in the big question, and we'll talk about that together on Monday. Okay, so that's this assignment. The other thing that I would like you to do Tuesday, before we get back together on Tuesday, is to go back to this folder and just go through this module 2. All right, I'm opening it up just so we can see, because this one is a little bit longer. Okay, and I want you to go through the first couple slides on your own and see what you can do on your own for the first couple slides. Okay, there's some articles to read, some information about the articles, okay, and some thoughts that you might have had. Alrighty? Okay, so that's what this is. That's what we did today, and I'm sorry that you weren't with us. And I will talk to you on Tuesday. Well, I'm here now. If you need me, you can send me an email. And tomorrow I'll have my channel open from 12 to 1 in case you need to talk to me. All right. Have a great day and have a great rest of your week if I don't talk to you.